Hey friends, Jill back with you. I thought it would be good to talk today about the deeper layer of compatibility. What actually essentially matters when it comes to being a really good fit in a relationship. Because there's a lot of talk and explanation about the inner planets in compatibility. That's really important. And that is what we mainly focus on in most synastry and chart comparisons. Because the inner planets have a lot to say about how we get along and how we feel about each other and what personal complexes and pathologies that we're hooking into with each other. It's very important to look at the inner planets because we're looking at how two personalities essentially combine and reflect and bounce off of each other. But compatibility, essential compatibility, goes much, much deeper than that. The inner planets, again, show how you get along and how you feel about each other. Super important. But Jupiter and the ninth house show how your vision for your life and your hopes and your dreams for your future combine. Saturn's also very important because it shows how you practically make your goals and visions come into being. But Jupiter, ninth house, that stuff really needs to be well combined or in agreement. If you don't have similar or at least a complementary vision for your lives, you don't have enough to work with to create a successful relationship. Vedic astrology understands this really well. Eastern astrology really emphasizes the D9 chart when they're doing compatibility comparison. And this probably comes from their tradition of arranged marriage. They really understand that if you match Jupiter ninth house stuff, if there's a mutual affinity or agreement there, then that does show happiness and success for a couple, regardless of the absence of feelings initially of love or attractiveness or bondedness. Jupiter and the ninth house describe everyone's vision for their life and what gives their lives meaning. It's what gives you hope and what makes you able to get out of bed in the morning. Jupiter is also our cultural understanding of morality and right and wrong and laws. It's a lot about culture and what we derive from it. Jupiter is also the superego in psychology. So abundance, money, education, travel, hope, buoyancy, beliefs, children, religion, sociology, philosophy, growth, and a woman's vision for her mate and her married life. All Jupiter. All of these things are related, and that is why they are all ruled by the same planet. Jupiter is everything when it comes to enlightenment, and on the flip side, the illusion of truth or evil. Basically, it represents the culturally absorbed beliefs that we interpret our experiences through that infuses those experiences with meaning. So I mentioned that Jupiter is a woman's vision of a mate. It's her idea of abundance and what children are and what will increase her own worth in the world. The moon is also really essential in compatibility. Also, Jupiter and the moon are the two deeper layers of compatibility. The moon describes a man's mate and feelings of security, safety, and home, and one's emotional needs. Men, even gay men, are looking for in their mate figure the moon. Sexual preference does not change what the genders are looking for. Lesbians look for Jupiter in their mates. Gay males look for the moon in their mates. Gay people don't become the other gender just because they are gay. Gay males are not women, and lesbians are not men. Gay people are searching for the same needs to be met in relationships as straight people are. The moon and Jupiter are essential to both genders when it comes to compatibility, but they describe the different motivation for relationships that men and women have. Women are looking for an increase and to add an element of adventure to their lives. Men are looking for security, belonging, familiarity, and safety. The moon describes a woman's link to her parents and the past and the mother. For men, the moon is representing the domestic partner and the mother, the original home. For women, the moon, again, is the parents and the original home. But for both genders, the moon is our habitually ingrained emotional patterns. And my sister is a nurse's assistant and works in memory care facilities, Alzheimer's, old folks' homes. And she tells a story that perfectly illustrates how the moon works for men and women. So in the evenings in memory care facilities, old people with memory problems or memory conditions are stimulated by the sun, the setting of the sun. It's called sundowning, to come out of their rooms and to become more active. And they come out of their rooms and they look for their original source of security and safety. So the little old ladies come out of their room and they ask the nurses, "Have you seen my parents? I'm waiting for my parents to come home and they just aren't coming home and I'm worried, and where are my parents?" And the little old men come out of their rooms and they come to the nurses and the other workers and they say, "Have you seen my wife? I'm looking for her everywhere and I just can't find her. I've been waiting for my wife to come and I just can't seem to find her." It illustrates really, really well what the moon means to the different genders and how it represents that original source of security. The moon is also extremely essential to women in the context of relationships and compatibility, because we don't want to be uncomfortable or to have things be unfamiliar or go against our emotional requirements. But as women, when you look at the astrology of how they're put together, they really don't need a domestic relationship to feel secure. Women are looking for their hope to increase. Women look to the future for their happiness. Men are looking to the past for their safety and to keep things familiar, to a link to what is familiar. So Jupiter is yet unfamiliar things, and the moon is things that are familiar. So think of the word familiar. It really comes from the word family, which is the moon, the fourth house. And so we come to the reason for this video after all these words. Compatibility is basically deeper than just feelings and getting along. That is superficial. That can actually be changed and worked with and understood and modified. The ways in which we are emotionally disturbed or comforted, that's the moon, and oh so importantly, the ways in which our hopes and our dreams and our larger vision for our lives combines or doesn't is actually more important than how we feel about each other or how we get along. How you emotionally perturb or comfort each other, and do you have a compatible vision for your life? That's what it really comes down to. We can't change what gives us hope. We cannot change and should never be asked to change what gives our lives meaning and what we personally hold dear as our God. If you have to give up your God to get the love that you want, you've got a problem. It won't last anyway. The relationship you sell out your vision of what your life should look like for will become a source of misery, because if you cannot replace your God, a man or a woman cannot replace what it is that you're giving up in order to be with them. You need to have a similar understanding of what happiness is. That means your deeper values and your understanding of morality needs to be in agreement, or at least complementary if they are different. You can be head over heels in love with each other, but if you do not have a compatible, mutual vision of where you are going and what you want and what is right for the two of you and what gives you hope for your future, you are not going to make it. Feelings are not enough. That's the truth of it. Feelings are not enough to keep you together if you want different things. You need to have 3 things in place if you're going to be really truly compatible with somebody. You need to have the superficial, well, I say enough superficial inner planet aspects in common. Or if you have a lot of oppositions, that can show differences that are complementary, and that can create a balance. Too many in conjunctions or squares will create an atmosphere in getting in each other's way. There can be a lot of friction. that is created, and a lot of just not getting each other if we have a lot of conjunctions involved. The other thing is you need to have aspects to each other's moons that are not too disturbing and that ideally create a sense of comfort and familiarity. No aspects between the moons or to other planets, because you don't have to have the moons in aspect to each other in particular. No aspects that are difficult or minimal aspects that are difficult to your moons are better than, difficult aspects. So nothing is better than difficult. You must have a similar, this is the third thing, you must have a similar, or if it's different, at least a complementary idea of what you want your individual lives to be and what your relationship to look like, what you want it to stand for. What does it mean to you? Again, if your vision for your relationship and what you expect your mutual happiness to be derived from is not in agreement, you don't have enough to work with. And this is something that we don't talk about a lot in compatibility. It's something that's not brought up at all in Western synastry or chart comparison. We always focus on the inner planets, inner planets, inner planets. Don't pay attention to the outer planets. That's only the how you relate to each other, or the generational understanding that you have. That is everything, though, when it comes to absorbing what Jupiter is, which is your cultural understanding of what it is that is going to make you happy. That is huge when it comes to paying attention to that. It doesn't matter that that is a generational planet. So if you are about the same things, then you can work out any number of difficult inner planet aspects that would otherwise be insurmountable. You can have things that are not in common, all kinds of things at the superficial level, and still make it if you've got that vision in place, if you've got good Jupiter and good ninth house stuff there. And it's not going to be found in specific aspects between Jupiter. I don't want to get a million comments of, but what about this one and this one and this one? That's not going to help you. It's an overall understanding of who you both essentially are and what you are both about. It's not going to be found in specific aspects. It can help if you're doing like ninth house comparisons, Jupiter comparisons. You want to see all those things because they all mean something. But it's not that easy. You can't just look at it and say, oh, your Jupiters are square. It's not going to work. It's not that easy. It's an overall understanding. So this is the thing that, again, most astrologers and most books on synastry don't get. That if that vision isn't in place, it's not going to work out. You can have everything else perfect agreement between all those inner planets. If you don't want the same things, what are you doing together? So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthandaspectastrology.com, Facebook, Instagram, other social media at Truth and Aspect Astrology. I am mainly a relationship and intimacy astrologer, but I interpret all types of charts. And please find me on Patreon and support me over there so I can make more videos for you more often. And I'll be back super soon with more super cool videos.